Thank you, Jennifer. So welcome to everyone, and I just wanted to say, um, it's great to have everyone on board with, getting into the profession, learning and developing. So just to say a little bit about myself, I started with Crown 10 years ago. So started as F&B attendant, and then through just continuous drive and curiosity around the business. I moved through hotels, I moved through, some other admin roles, and then landed a job in procurement as most of us, without even understanding what procurement was. And then in January 2023, I've been recommended to join Academy Global when I decided to embark on my journey with studying CIPS, and I never looked back since. I think it's really full on while you also working full time and studying and trying to complete your studies, but it's like I haven't had that feeling once you get your results back and you passed, or you've got an amazing you hit a merit, or you've got that completed. So I guess what inspired me to pursue studies with Academic Global towards my MCIP accreditation was the drive, wanting to understand what procurement is, understanding the standards that applied in, overall in worldwide procurement excellence benchmark. So some items that would take you years to learn and practice, you can actually get that experience through studying and applying these principles at your work in everyday life. And I've seen how much value we could drive for the business over the last 12 months. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Guli. So, and to everyone, we're going to structure this session. We've had some questions come in from yourselves already, so we'll work through those, both myself and Guli, in conversation, and then we will have some time at the end for you to ask any questions in the chat that we'll handle as we go through as well. So if you do have any burning questions, feel free to put those in the chat now, and we will come back to them a little bit later. So Guli, I might start off in terms of our advice on exam strategies and tips. How did you, when you were studying the diploma, manage your weekly study schedule? You mentioned a bit in your intro about the difficulty in working full-time and managing studies in the evenings outside of that. And obviously you were a student of our study centre, so you had the classes to attend to help you as well. Can you talk me through a little bit in terms of what your general schedule would look like, maybe both during the term time when you'd be attending AG classes and maybe in the lead up to the actual CIPS exam period as well?
Good question. I guess there is some adjustments to your schedule that you require to make while you're preparing to the studies. So I was taking two modules at the time, so I would have classes on Tuesday and Thursdays. So just normal day for me will be sometimes finishing at 6 and having that 2 hours to prepare before I have dinner with my family, and then also studying that additional hour when everyone's using bathroom and just getting ready for next day. And then unfortunately there is no shortcut. You have to read the book, you have to do the classes, you have to do the exams and tests to prepare for yourself for the real exam. And sometimes it involves Saturdays or Sundays, so I would definitely dedicate at least one day to unwind and just recharge, and it can be Saturday or Sunday, just depending on what I do. But then I would dedicate maybe solid 5 hours and just to go through the material to prepare myself for next session. Again, I was doing two classes at the time. maybe it is, worth extending it a little bit, just depending on your schedule. If you have some activities outside of work, I basically had to give up on running because I had to prioritize, and that happens with anything you do in life. You just need to make time. In preparation to the real exam, I think we've got 2 to 3 weeks when we don't have any classes, and it's just up to you. Potentially, maybe spread the material study by 1 hour here and there, where you can keep your knowledge fresh before a couple of days before your exam, and then during maybe 1 or 2 days, I would just recommend, and that helped me, just to forget about it. And that helps with nerves, and it helps with, you being overloaded with with a lot of just information in your head. It will come back because you prepare yourself, you study, and I think Academy Global helped me a lot with my questions. We've got so many people on the call. Everyone is asking something new, and lecturers had very different ways of delivering their materials. So you get that interaction diversity, I guess, at the time. So just make sure you have enough sleep. Make sure you're rested at least a day or night before to perform to your full capacity on the day.
Great, thanks, Guli. My next question, you spoke a little bit about your experience there. I just wanted to delve a little bit deeper into, if you could maybe talk us through, I guess, what resources, both from AG and also maybe outside and from some of the CIPS resources like the Intelligence Hub and the additional material that you found most useful to refer to?
I guess, like everyone else, the day goes so fast with things happening in your life. You have to find the pockets of additional resources that you can tap into. What helped me is there is an amazing program on YouTube called Procurement Study Buddy, and there is a lady from UK that takes you through the material, like overall. It's maybe 30-minute sessions. It takes me usually 20 minutes to 30 minutes to get to work from home. So I would use my car as an opportunity to listen to that podcast, and just, it would just set me up for a really good day, because I know I've already studied a little bit. It saves me maybe half an hour in the evening. And then you just ride that wave the rest of the day. Then I think the mock exams are quite helpful. And also, there are 2 sessions before your real exams that tutors go through, and just ask as many questions. If you see you don't understand a certain topic, just get some ideas, go through, ask which page is it in the book, go through, read it, just to make sure you cover yourself. What I've noticed in the test, there are very similar questions. So if you do the pre-planning, you'll do well in the exams. So that would be my recommendation.
Right. Thanks, Guli. Now, everyone's a little bit different in this respect, but can you talk me through what your studying technique is? And although everyone has a slightly different approach, what would be some of your recommendations across the board in terms of different techniques people could try out to see if it works for them?
It's a good question. I guess, as you mentioned, everyone, they study by listening or reading things, or someone they need to discuss with someone. So For me, I need to read the book, so I made a conscious decision that I have to read the book from cover to cover, and then I would also go on Academy Global on Moodle website, and there are very good slides that gives you very concise information that just backs up your studies. Then I would discuss some principles with my daughter. She would, well, I just had I had to have someone that I can bounce some ideas, or she would ask me to repeat some certain uh, um, like theories and formulas. Then I would listen to that podcast. So I would utilize all my senses to make sure I can retain the information. Um, then I would also write. I've got big book from Office Works that is scribbled with everything. And I think just utilizing all kinds of, information rotation will be helpful. And do not freak out when you don't remember something, because when you put in the situation when you need to go through your exam, you will remember. It will come up. It's on your G drive somewhere in your brain. Another useful technique that I used, I would apply the principles I learned in the book to my everyday work and see how it performs, if there is a value or certain strategy, or certain sourcing, or for example, under a supplier sustainability piece, that are they, do we check the capabilities? So I would use, I'm not sure if you guys went through Carter's 10C, but I would apply that in my supplier segmentation or selection process, just to make sure I remember that principle.
Yeah, some good points there, Guli. And it kind of flows into one of the next questions that were sent in by one of our attendees, was around access to previous exam papers. Now, CIPS does make a number of those past papers available through the CIPS website. You can find them online, or you can reach out to us and we can point you in the right direction if you're interested or having trouble accessing those. But maybe if you could talk through how you find it useful. I think it's one of those key study areas where you do the practice exam. Can you talk me through a little bit? Would you, set a time to sit down and do it in exam conditions, or did you have a look at it while you were looking at your resources?
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's a crucial part of your final preparation where you test yourself in outside of, exam, and just you see where your gaps are, what material you're not 100% sure, and then you go back and just target that chapter or page. And then another good recommendation would be looking through YouTube, because there are previous exam questions that are listed. And what I've noticed with CIPS, they usually rotate the questions through the years. So if you go on YouTube, there is actually something that specifies, or in March 2022 they use this topic, and they're probably not going to reuse it in May 2023. So just a little bit more research, and then also lectures, they present quite good deck with all exams. And we always ask, can you send it to us, please? Can you? So we harass them until they said, okay, we'll do that. We'll just need to ask 3, but it's okay. And they would send us, and we would read it, and we would go through it. And it's very similar questions than you see in the exam, which helps you a lot, because you kind of already know, you did the digging, you did the studying. So you should be all well prepared with additional resources like that.
Right. And now this is another question sent in from another attendee, and I might add a little bit onto this at the end too, but it was regarding whether, is the study guide and ebook enough to pass the examination? I have some thoughts on this, but I'll let you answer it first, Guli.
So it was study book. What else?
The study guide and the ebook, is that enough to pass the exam?
Well, I just didn't rely on just that. I think you need to do the practice, you need to do online um, YouTube digging. So I can't answer that question because I used all resources that were available, all the tools I could get access to. Um, and I passed all exams from the first go. So I'm having very busy schedule and going through some personal stuff. And I think that um, that that strategy works and it worked for me. So utilize everything that you have, and especially having support like you know you get from Academia Global, where every question was answered within a few hours, and any difficulties you have with access or with anything, the support is there, and I think it was crucial in me passing the exams because I didn't have to stress about it. And yeah, I could just, rely on Sri. And again, I always say thank you to him because he helped me with all accesses, all the communication, all the booking exams, booking, like, and I asked many questions, and some of them he was probably rolling his eyes, but he was coming back to me with answers, and I really appreciate it.
That's great to hear. Thanks, Guli. And I think, yeah, exactly to your points. I think, you can have the study guide and ebook and all the resources, but you do need to make sure you are putting it in practice and applying it. So when you do your preparation for the exam, make sure you're, looking at those questions, drafting a response, seeing what your response would be. So you're testing yourself and you know that when you get to the exam, you're going to be able to write out and you're going to be able to deal with whatever question they throw at you. Another question that I had for you, and I guess it's a little bit of an extension on some of the things you just raised, where you had additional support from Shri and from our study centre as well, and the tutors. Around the administration for the exams, there can be quite a bit of, especially when it's your first exam, to get your head around, where it's remotely invigilated, some of the software requirements, and maybe even the physical space you need to make sure you have access to sit that exam as well. Can you talk through, for our attendees who might be sitting in an exam for the first time, some of the maybe things you might have either wished you'd known beforehand, or some considerations that you found, or maybe the way you best prepared yourself to be in the best position when you sat your exams?
Thank you. Great question. And I think um, once you do the reading about, how to set yourself up for the first exam, then everything will be just repeated. So you just need to make sure your phone is charged, your computer is here, the space where you do your exam. I did all my exams at home because I can't imagine being in the office environment and trying to concentrate when there is so much distraction. So definitely make sure you're in a comfortable space. There is no one that can distract you, and your surroundings are clean. So I've been asked not to use smartwatch, and when I think there is try to log in beforehand just to make sure you have time to deal with all tech issues if you do have them. Um, then you get invigilator. I don't know how to pronounce it, but every single time it's someone different, and they just ask you to show them your surroundings, to show your table, to show them under your table. So make sure you've got no books lying around, because I think it will be in bridge. For I think constructive response, you get 3 hours and 5 minute break in between. So make sure you go to, just the simple housekeeping things that you make sure you go to bathroom, you have your glass of water, because that 3 hour goes very fast. And with multiple response, it's 1.5 hours, and I think you get 60 questions. So it's quite challenging to read, to understand, to read the answers and reply. Again, make sure there is nothing that stresses you out, and you just can concentrate fully on your exams. Have a good night's sleep, have a very nourishing meal maybe the night before. Switch off, and yeah, I guess just trial your IT before before the day of the exams, just to understand that you've got all your passwords, uh, you remember, and just try to log in beforehand. Give yourself enough time to, sort out any issues that potentially will be thrown at you. But it's just hard the first time. Then it's just, you don't even look at the emails that are coming, telling you that's how your exam will be set up. This time it's you've got everything downloaded on your phone. You've got all the websites, you logged in, and you're ready to go. So it gets easier with every single exam as you go.
Excellent point. Thanks, Goy. We did have a question from someone who English is not their first language. They wanted to know about marks being deducted if there are grammar and spelling mistakes. Yeah, what are your thoughts? I mean, I can add as well that, my thoughts on drafting your response, but maybe as well, Guli, some advice you'd give on those constructed response exams.
Yeah, absolutely. English is not my first language, as you can appreciate from the accent. Again, just try to keep it as simple as possible. I don't think there will be mark deducted if you do a few spellings mistakes. The marks might potentially be deducted when your message or your communication is not clear of what you're trying to say, or the principle you try to discuss in your response. I guess just yeah, and Jenny, you can help me with that. Just keeping it simple, straight to the point. Explain the the words. Just make sure you get yourself familiar with the command words when they say describe, compare, analyze. That should be your initial point to structure your response, because that's what I guess the test center people will be looking at, saying, okay, did they understand the question? Could they respond in concise and clear manner? And I don't think there will be any lower grades for not, for small spelling mistakes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would suggest as well. And I would say to all students, CIPS do produce a few CIPS exam guides that have some guidance on those key command words that Guli was just mentioning. So I would recommend you go have a look through there, so when you read a question, whether it's saying identify, to describe, exactly what you need to do, whether it's to just identify, so list out whatever it is and explain, or whether it's to describe different elements of something, because that is a key thing that I've seen come out a few times in the marker reports and feedback that CIPS give, is that, people might not have read the question as it was intended. And, you can go on to write a whole long response, but sometimes if it does miss that key command word that the question was asking, you might find that, even though you had responded your answer was technically correct, it didn't actually address what the examiner was asking. So that's a really key point. Thanks, Guli. Now, what I might do, that brings us to the end of our pre-sent in questions from participants. I would like to open the floor to our audience for any Q&A that you might have. Feel free to drop any questions you might have in the chat for those on Zoom, and for those on LinkedIn, just pop your questions in the comment section. It's a great opportunity to speak to someone who's been through the experience and can answer any of those burning questions you might have. So you can drop those in the chat or comments section as we're speaking. Just while we're waiting and while people might be doing that, Guli, I did just come to mind for me around the marker reports as well. Did you have a look at those while you were studying, and did you find it helpful to look at any of that feedback?
The one that they send post.
Yeah. So the one that CIPS kind of release after each, and for our audience as well, after each central CIPS exam period, CIPS do publish a kind of general feedback that speaks to everyone who sat the exam what the general consensus was on whether some questions were well answered, whether there was a trend that people tended to miss a certain part of that. Did you at all consult that or find that helpful, Guli?
I did find it helpful. I think it just like when you read it, you're like, oh, I actually did that. It just sets you up for a better response in the future for your next round. In my experience, the constructive response exams are the hardest, and that's why they're marked at a higher credit. But yeah, just again, it will be me going to reiterating, use all tools that are available to set yourself up for success. I think there is great library within the CIPS, and also the material that gets sent to us by the lecturers at the end, and they go through with you each step saying, look, at these questions you might potentially need to answer this way, and they're always looking for explanation of the general term when you want to start. So for example, if they're asking about Carter's 10C, you just give them what that stands for, and then you go as a bullet point, and always relate to the case study. And I think this year I will be using more of my experience in the answers. But last year I was very following whatever book said. I'm going to apply the same, but I think don't shy away to bring your side of the story towards the answer. I think that's what a CIPS examiner are looking for as well. But yeah, there is no shortcut again. Studying, yes, reading, learning, applying, all of that.
Excellent. Thanks, Guli. I just noticed someone asked about that guide with the details, and I think Sri sent that through, and I think following this, we'll probably just send out a note to attendees with some additional information if you are interested in follow-up or any information on the study centre as well. I'll just do a last final call out for any questions anyone might have had before we wrap up today. Final call. Okay, well, thanks very much, everyone, for attending. I would like to give a sincere thanks to Guli, as well as one of our previous students who generously gave us her time this afternoon to talk us through your exam experience. There was really some gold there and some great insights for people who might be wondering what this whole experience and being a bit nervous about the CIPS exams. At least I think it was a bit comforting for them to know that, it is possible to go through it, some techniques they can apply, and all the real knowledge you need to know. So huge thank you, Guli, and thank you also to everyone who's attended both on Zoom and LinkedIn. If you would like to scan the QR code on screen at the moment, you can complete our post-event survey and give any suggestions for any future events that you might find helpful while you're undergoing your CIPS study centre. If you would like to contact us, our email is up there, as well as our phone number if you are interested in taking advantage of some of our tutor-led CIPS classes. Like Guli mentioned earlier, they can be a huge help for you in getting access to someone who is MCIPS, FCIPS, has the experience, has spoken to students, knows what the study experience is like, and is able to guide you through what can be quite a big process of undertaking the next step in your professional development by undertaking the CIPS accreditation. So do feel free to reach out to us, or you can go through our website as well to find out further information on what we offer in terms of the CIPS professional qualifications. So again, a big thank you to Guli and everyone here today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And if you are sitting exams in March. I wish you best of luck. I think they kick off next week. So good luck for those. I hope you're feeling more confident after today's session as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and good luck. Thanks, Jen.